Hey guys, welcome to the 41st episode of the Learning Podcast. And if you're unsure, it's a Singaporean podcast dedicated to learning something new from every single guest on this show. And today I have a friend that I've known for a couple of years right now. His name is Xuan Kai. Xuan Kai, thanks so much for taking the time to come all the way down.
Thank you.
I know Xuan Kai lives like super far away. He lives in Jurong, right? So yeah, really thanks. This is next to Changi Prison and I know it's really inconvenient. And a couple of little context about Xuan Kai. He's an assistant producer at MM2 Entertainment. It's a multi-content company and a film production company in a sense. So he studied theatre studies at the National University of Singapore. I actually knew Xuan Kai through the NUS Symphony Orchestra. So common thing that both of us have is that we are both musicians. He plays the cello, which is like, damn, he's a very good cello player. And other context about Xuan Kai is that he is a documentary filmmaker to a certain extent. He has made some very interesting films, which I'll definitely link in the video description. And I think in general, the reason why I really wanted to have this conversation with Xuan Kai is that I like having conversations with like very creative people. And in my experience of having went through business school, like the kind of people that you meet are really like one kind. And it's really different when you meet people from different faculties and you realize that people are really, really different. And Xuan Kai is definitely one of them who has very different experiences from where I was at the same time. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation. So a couple of reasons why I think this conversation will be helpful. If anyone who's interested in in pursuing theatre studies as a profession or studying it in NUS or any formal institution, I think this would be a quite useful one, because sometimes I think like as a JC kid or as a polytechnic kid, most of us usually enter conventional courses and we don't really think about the thereafter, like what are we going to do after graduation. So let's say, in my opinion, like pursuing theatre studies is something not too conventional. So I'm just curious of his journey, why he decided to choose theatre studies. I know he wanted to become a teacher as well, so there's a lot of things that we can discuss about as well. And the second thing I really want to talk to him about is life after graduation. So as university graduates, right, there's this thing called like the graduation day where everything's all right. You'll go out and conquer the world, right? So I just am interested in having like real conversations, because I know that Xuan Kai, alongside with me, like let's say in the first few jobs that you take up, right, you might face a little difficulties here and there in terms of the work culture, the workload. And I just hope to have like just frank conversations and maybe something that can be, something listeners can learn from in that sense. So yeah, those are a couple of reasons. Xuan Kai, for those listeners that don't know who you are, could you give a quick introduction about yourself if I missed out anything?
I really don't think you missed out anything.
Got it. Xuan Kai has a YouTube channel. I'll definitely be linking it in the YouTube, video description. The films that he's made, right, is really very interesting, and I think I won't do justice if I describe the film right now. So okay, so going all the way back, right, as a JC kid, right, could you maybe share with us your thought process on why you decided theatre studies, or something that's in a creative route rather than the normal conventions like lawyer, doctor, or business course?
Okay, so actually the very reason why I entered to a JC in the first place is because I'm already set on wanting to teach in secondary school. So back then, my literature teacher in secondary school is one of the only few like teachers that don't like, she just doesn't give up on you, even though you're like one of the rotten apples or students in school. So because of that, like I managed to do well, and subsequently like really benefited from all her efforts. And I feel like I want to be able to give back by being a teacher myself. And I guess that's how a lot of teachers start out to begin with. They are really they aspire to be someone that is just like their teacher who help them. Yeah, so that is why I wanted to be a lit teacher previously. And that is why initially when I went to uni, I wanted to be I'm a double major in literature and theatre studies. Yeah, but subsequently I realized that in university, literature isn't really what I thought it would be, because to me, the NUS system is more like a continental philosophy. Yeah.
Sorry, what's continental philosophy? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I honestly also don't know, but like I'm very sure last time your podcast you had one with a lit major as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So literature in uni is really tough for me because my Mandarin is my first language, like Chinese. So basically, like it's very hard to compete with someone who loves to read like 5 books a week. Yeah. So for me, I definitely choose to go for dramas and films, doing this kind of stuff. So it will definitely benefit me even more.
Like, at which point were you involved in like theater? Because like, was it during your JC days already? Like, you're dabbling into it, like filmmaking as well? Because I know you do a little bit of video editing, right? So like, where did this crossroad come? Like, where do you do like a little bit of lit, little bit of theater, and a little bit of like producing and video editing?
Actually, everything only starts in university. Yeah, so in JC, I was looking more towards like drama, because I realized that I really like to read something more human, like dialogues between people. That really helps to craft who you are as a person, how you actually create something like very raw, very emotional, meant for us, because it's very, so everything about theater is life, how you present things on stage. So that comes from the script itself, so drama. Yeah.
So was it like a class that you took, or like, was it like a lesson? Like, where did it start? Like is it a first script that you wrote, or like, how do you come about interacting with it?
Yeah, okay, maybe the very first one was when I'm in year 1, Sem 2, when I took this mod called Introduction to Playwriting in NUS. So it is like a module that only when you write in and you get selected, and then you get to be in the class. So I was lucky enough to write something, and then I got in.
What do you write about? Do you write, like, roughly? Like, what's the requirement for you to enter this?
So you have a topic, and then you have a side portfolio where you have to write something else. So for the topic, it's like they give you a few topics. So my topic was diaspora. So basically displacement from home, like running away, refugee. So I was in India when I was writing it.
India?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just thought about the culture and the context where I'm in the desert, Yeah, then I was thinking, actually the history behind this, I can actually put it down on paper. So I actually kind of wrote like how like some like Indians try to escape from the desert. Yeah, this kind of stuff. And then I somehow managed to get in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from then on, like, was it very like, how did this class like made you even more interested in it to like pursue it?
So this is part of the creative and playwriting portion where I feel like it really helps me be able to channel my creative output, because actually in NUS, in FASS for example, so I'm in arts and social science, and actually a lot of our majors is very academic based, it's very theory, and this is one of the only classes, like modules, that you can actually really just write whatever you want and really just pour out everything you need, and you have like a playwright, like our lecturer who is actually a playwright, who would actually help us go through it and help us improve in our writing. So that is where like it sparked a bit of how I think that the creative path is for me in the first place. Yeah.
So on that point, because I know you initially majored in literature, right? Like, what was the thought process in terms of like jumping? Did it like take you very long to like, okay, I'm just gonna do theatre studies as a main course, or like was it how's the process where you jumped over? Because I know like, to change course, right? It's not that conventional. So what made you? Was it at a point of time where you decided I wanted to do it, or like it was just long over like 1 semester or 2 semesters?
So actually, I decided to change over because of what the major itself can offer to me, and something that I'm more inclined towards, and something that I think I'm more capable of doing. So for lit-wise, there are some of the modules, and in literature, we actually have the film studies minor. So that is where all the film modules, they offer all the film modules, but it's all writing, watching and analyzing. Yeah, so that's where I kind of learned how to write and review films. Yeah, but for theatre-wise, we actually also have some film portion where you actually make the film itself. Yeah, and how it actually interacts with the environment. Because in theatre studies, it's actually about studying human performance studies, how we actually act, how we talk, the way we talk, how do we analyze that, So every intention that I'm bringing out to you, that is what I meant, but there can be a second meaning to it or a third meaning to it that you can actually try to grasp the nuances if you look further into it. So basically, I guess that is what theatre studies is like to me. Yeah, studying about human behavior and stuff.
To me, right, I mean, like, what you're explaining to me, that like there are many onions, that like layers of onions that you can peel out, right? For a complete beginner, let's say, like for someone who might be interested in doing theatre studies, right? Is there any kind of things that you feel that a good theatre studies major should have before maybe choosing that instead of regretting it in that sense?
As in something that is good.
Whether if it's something for him or her.
Okay. So something for him or her is basically if you are certain that like, you see the value of theatre per se, and you do not you are studying theatre deeply, not just to become an actor. Because honestly speaking, the theatre studies curriculum in NUS is not a performance based like major. You don't get to perform a lot. You do perform like maybe 30% out of the 100% of like the entire curriculum. In my 4 years, I only had at most 4 practical classes, something that you get to perform. But other than that, everything else is actually really about theories, understanding how things work, and even from that we extend beyond like just human but culture. So it's a bit of sociology, anthropology, and also a lot of like modern critical theories and studies.
Is that the biggest difference between like a drama school, and like what you studied, theatre studies?
Yes, surely. So we actually study more in depth. So for a TS major, we actually come out, if you want to continue in the theatre scene, we actually come out more as a dramaturg or a director or someone that is behind the stage. But there are also a lot of people who would still enter the stage, and they will also make out to be a very good like actor. For example, Jeanette Au, Ocean, in Mediacorp, she's the Xiao Niang Re, right? The very iconic person. She was she's on TS.
Oh.
Yeah. So someone like her who actually has all those knowledge of theatre and everything around it can actually become a better actress simply because of all the like knowledge that she's being equipped with. Yeah.
Because it's like a more holistic education of what being an actor means rather than just doing your own role in that silo manner, which would you say that is what most drama schools are involved with?
I personally haven't been in the drama school, so
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, but I would say that is the differentiating factor between a TS major in NUS and like drama school elsewhere.
So moving on to, let's say, what you're doing right now, right? How is what you're doing right now related to what you have studied in theatre studies? Because at least because I have no idea what theatre studies is at much, right? So what are the kind of connections? How is it applicable to what you're doing right now?
So TS definitely helped me in a way to equip me with a lot of soft skills. And as a producer, what you need to do is to liaise with a lot of people, talk to people, make connections, and actually get things done in a very smooth sailing manner. So in terms of acquiring location, liaising with people, all these kind of things, you need human connection. You need to talk to the person. So how do you phrase your words properly such that you can negotiate with the person well to get them like follow what you want? This kind of stuff. I think it's a bit manipulative in nature, but that is what kind of we are equipped with. Like, we know when is the right time to like talk to you about some things, when to retreat. This kind of small soft skills that, yeah, it really helps you to get there. And yeah, so in theatre studies, I actually specialize more in the film side of things. So like my class, we have 15 of us and I'm the only field that actually specialize more within the film sector, where because a lot of our classes we are free to do whatever you want, and when we go up to the higher level modules like level 4,000 modules, it's actually a lot of research based, a lot of things that you want to explore yourself. You go ahead. Yeah, so that is where I really just bring out all the theater, all the film stuff, and I incorporate it into theater, because after all, film, screenwriting, screenplay, screen performance are also part of theater in some sense. Yeah. But it's just that it's on screen. You have to really think about what the spectator would feel about it. It's another layer that you need to think about. So yeah, how I think now is really because of my education and how like where it brought me to.
On that note, let's say after you graduated, right, in terms like moving on to, let's say, going into the industry, right, what is the normal conventional career route of, let's say, someone in theatre studies, and where are you in right now, and yeah, where what is the conventional career route, and where do you start?
Okay, so being in theatre, as a theatre studies major, you actually study a lot more than just theatre itself. You study about society, you study about digital media performance, and really all the marketing, campaigning things, and really just working with people in general. So it's very people-based kind of environment. So some of us end up to become like a digital media consultant, this kind of stuff, or like I have a friend who went on to do UX design, because user experience is something that you really require a lot of research, survey about how people think, and we are equipped with the skill to actually conduct this kind of like data and collecting kind of ways to understand how people think, and we cater to people. Yeah. So yeah, there are a lot of general ones. We can even go to marketing, copywriting, and like for those who want to continue theater, like in the theater scene, then they will go on to do their own stuff or like freelancing, and for example. And for me, I would jump into the film industry lah.
So in your first company that you entered, right, were you like mainly a producer? Because like to me, like it seems that whatever that you're doing, right, there's like so many spectrums. So there's editing, there's producing, there's directing. So for listeners, like, can you break it down to listeners? Like, let's say when you enter a company, is it very specific to one role, or is it like usually very diverse and it really depends on the company you're working with?
Yeah, it actually really depends on the company you're working with, especially in the film industry. So actually, my first job, I was in a TV production company. So actually, if you go in as like a film person, you are bound to be able to do everything else, and that is what they will need of you. So actually, when I enter, I was only originally a production assistant / assistant producer. I mean, it's interchangeable in some sense, but suddenly I become a research writer.
What's a research writer?
Yeah, so research writer is someone who does research, of course, online, get all the resources, you compile things, and then you really come up with an angle of the content that you want to pitch. And then afterwards, when everything is in a later stage, you will start to liaise with people. So it's also a bit of the job where you get to talk to people, call people up, ask them when they are free to like liaise this kind of stuff. Then you go down to do survey, or you can really go down and start recording and interview some stuff. Yeah.
So when we talk about the point of pitching, right? So does it mean like your company like has a client that they want to pitch to, then you will do the research behind it and like pitch to it, and if it goes through, then you'll go through the whole execution of it?
Yes. So as a research writer, you have to know the content first and for all. You have to know the brief of the pitch, and then you will just do out the whole draft, the slides, and then really continue until the pitch itself. So I was lucky enough to be brought into a pitch with Mediacorp to actually pitch something, because usually in our TV production company, we get our fundings. We are commissioned by like the big brothers, so IMDA or Mediacorp, or this kind of like government-ish kind of like companies lah. So when I went to Mediacorp to do pitching, my ideas are being displayed on the presentation slide, and then my boss will be there to present. So if he has any queries, he will actually ask me to like clarify and stuff.
How intimidating was it to like be involved in this pitch, or was it intimidating at all? To me, at least, being like pitching your ideas is something that's very nice to be able to. But for your idea to come to fruition, that is another challenge, whether you're able to convince them lah. So, like, how was it sitting in like these pitches?
I would say it's very exciting because you are there to really want to convince them to buy your idea, and I think that if they don't buy your idea, they wouldn't even want to give you a chance to pitch at all. Yeah, and actually the pitching process is actually a one-off. It's very direct lah. It's really just showcase for the sake of showcasing, because actually my company is like the only ones that they ask to pitch. It's not like a open pitch where everyone have to present and then they will choose one at the end of the day. Yeah, the one that I got is really just we tell you what we have, and then is there anything that you can do about it? Because in Mediacorp, they also have to care about the sales. They also have to care about how they can incorporate all the stuff inside to make the program work.
How competitive is the industry like to get these kind of jobs from like the big brothers?
Actually, it's pretty competitive.
So for the fact that you're able to be in, like even in contact with them, is a good thing lah, essentially.
Yeah, that's why if you want to talk about like the SMCs in Singapore, like the film, TV production companies, they actually specialize in certain things. So for example, my previous place, we actually specialize more in English documentary, TV documentary. Yeah, because our back then my boss were usually from Mediacorp. Like a lot of our like people now starting their own company, they are all previously from Mediacorp. They know how the system works. They know how to talk
play
about
around.
things. Yeah, play around.
And they have the right connections as well.
Yes, that is very important.
How often do you go for this kind of pitches? Is it like a regular thing? Because there's only a couple of big brothers. Like, do you guys do like, let's say a corporate company? Do you guys pitch to corporate companies in a sense directly, or do you like have an agency? How does the structure work?
It depends also. So I was actually only in my very first company for like 3 months, so I didn't really see much of how that plays out, and I only went for one pitch with Mediacorp, and that was the biggest thing that I've ever done. But other than that, I was also tasked to do more of like the work aside to come up with our own stuff. Like for example, for Singtel, for StarHub, this kind of stuff. So they actually already come to us to talk about things. And I guess my company is big enough to not have a middleman. But usually some other like boutique production houses, they will have a middleman. Yeah.
Got it. So on that note, right, because I at least from my understanding of people who are in the industry, right, they say it's like a very competitive, and at times because of the work that you guys do, like producers, editors, right, the working hours are very long. So culture is something that's like very, at least from the previous podcast I have with people in the industry, right, they say it's a rather toxic culture. Lah. So not to say that like to highlight your experiences or whatever, but in terms of, let's say, letting people know about the realities of it, or maybe the kinds of things that they can look out for. From your experience, would you mind sharing a little bit more of like how you felt being like a fresh person in this working industry, and perhaps the challenges that you faced and how you worked around them?
Okay. Wow.
I know it's like a loaded question, but like just hoping to have like just some insights from your experience as well.
Okay. Yeah. So for example, someone like me actually don't really have like a film background per se. Even though I minored in film production in school, ultimately my major is in theatre studies. So a lot of people, a lot of production houses, when they are hiring someone like from outside that degree, they will actually question, why are you coming in here? And then they will want to know your accolades, your previous portfolio and stuff. So it really depends on the angle you want to go. And for me, I've made it very clear from the start that I want to be able to do documentaries next time. So bearing that in mind, they will ask me, so are you ultimately going to be a documentary producer or a documentary filmmaker?
For listeners, could you paint a picture? What's the difference for listeners out there?
Okay, so for a documentary producer, you are the one coming up with ideas, but you get to pitch stuff and you get people to do it. For a documentary filmmaker, you are literally the one behind camera, filming everything, doing the freelance work as an artist. So that is an artist kind of job already. So that is the one where you have no money. Whereas the producer, you will actually get, liars enough like to get the money in to produce this kind of stuff.
So basically it's like getting funding for this idea that you want to create.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So which route are you inclined towards?
Yeah. So I surely want to still be a documentary filmmaker. Yeah. And I know that what is needed for me to do now is to get into all the companies, to get to know how things work, get all the networks that I can, if possible, to talk to more people who are in the industry, get like capable people who are also interested in the same things that I am, to maybe like in the future form a team or something. Yeah, that is what I really hope to do lah. Yeah, so back to what you mentioned about like my experience in my first company per se. When I enter, it is very weird. It's very, very weird, because it's like you're kind of confident that you know some stuff. Because I specialize in film stuff in school, but to the CEOs or the bigger people out there, they just think that, hey, you lacking the experience, the number of years working, meant that you don't know anything at all. Yeah, so this is something that is very weird, because they really look at the number of years. So clocking a number of years now is actually a very important thing for me now, just because of how I look at the industry now. It's like, oh, if you have less than 1 year of work experience, you are actually nothing. You don't really know a lot of stuff. Yeah, so they wouldn't really put you like onto very big projects unless they are desperate and they don't have anything else. So yeah, so they will just randomly put you as an AP, but they don't pay you the amount and then they will say like, oh, this is to give you experience so that next time when you go out of this company, you can do more things. Yeah, so that's the only reasons why they have no choice but to give you some of the bigger roles to take on. If not, they usually won't trust you, I would say. Yeah, simply because you don't have the enough number of projects to show them what you're capable of.
It seems to me like it's a very traditional industry. So if you don't have the years, means, because I feel like it's like a chicken egg thing, right? Like you need to be allocated certain responsibilities at the same time to prove your worth, or if you're not even given it in the first place, then it's difficult for you. So in that kind of environment, how do you work around it?
How do I work around it? I basically just do my best to want to show that I'm capable. So I guess one of the mistakes why I only lasted for 3 months in my first company is probably because I tried to be a straight A worker. I'm not even a straight A student, but I try to be a straight A worker.
What is a straight A worker?
Basically, you're on point. you really just want to do everything right. You have to like read all the steps ahead. You have to like read your boss's mind to know what he wants, what she wants, so that you can come up with something before he or she even asks you, and you will just go all out just to and like just get everything done like in the way that they want, but even better. So it gets draining for a bit lah. I guess that's a fatal mistake that I did.
Would you say that you burnt out in a sense? Like,
Yeah, surely. Especially when like maybe in that place you don't really receive a very supporting kind of environment as well. I think that plays a part in how you survive. Yeah.
because on this note, right, at the same time, because I know that you mentioned of being an A player, because on our part, we do what we can control, which is like doing as much as we can. So like, and at the same time, it's also how they respond to the work lah. So I find that there's a fine line between like really at what point did you know that you have reached a fine line whereby like it wasn't sustainable for you to go on to, let's say, in the company itself, or like where is that fine line? At what point did you realize that maybe this isn't an environment that's something for me, and maybe I should move on instead?
Okay, actually, okay.
Was it like a accumulation of events over like 1-2 months, or was it like a single event where like it's something that I cannot tolerate, and that's why I'm moving on for now?
Yeah. Okay, I would say it's more of a accumulation of like events that make you more informed of how this place is ultimately like. Because I think it's a bit too much if it's only one event then 我不干了 and this kind of stuff. But it's more like a series of events that makes you realize that this is actually your environment now. You are being in this work culture, this environment where like maybe what you do is not being appreciated. Maybe what you do isn't enough even though you have tried your best, but no one acknowledged that. People just move on because they're just too busy to care about you as an employee. Yeah. So I think that is the human factor involved, especially because of my education and my environment back then. Like I like to work in a place where we like to collaborate stuff, we like to talk to people so that we can get things done together. But in very busy places, maybe they really just look at the stats. Okay, got money, no money, I don't give you this project. If you can make more money and I need your help, you jolly well do it. Yeah, this kind of stuff. So I guess it gets a bit like tiring also, especially when you do have that kind of mental support. Yeah, maneuvering around in the office lah.
Are there any kind of red flags do you feel that you could have, like, let's say if you're warning someone of what to look out for, right, in a particular company, what would the other red flags be? Like one you mentioned is that being appreciated for the work that you do, and maybe like having a collaborative effort. Are there any kind of red flags that you look out for?
Okay, my very first red flag that I want to tell everybody would be actually to figure out what is the mission of the company.
The mission of the company?
Yes. So when you're applying for jobs, right, you actually would do some research, right, before you enter. You will look at the website. You will want to know what the company believes in and the mission and the values that they have, so that you will want to see if you fit into the company. Because honestly speaking, when you're joining a company, you are not just getting chosen. You have to choose them as well.
Yes, that's the thing. Like I think as fresh graduates, right, we are like, oh, give me, as long as I have a job, I'm happy, right? But I think we don't like own it to ourselves to, let's say, choose, because like we might be desperate in times, especially during this period of time.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So the company that I first worked for, actually, there's nothing on the website. There's no mission or whatever. So when I got like the interview, when I got a call for the interview, I went down. One of the first few questions they asked me, after the whole thing, they will ask you like, do you have anything to ask, right? The first thing I asked is straight away, what is the like mission of this place? Like, what are you actually looking out for such that you can make better work, right? But the answer that they give me is not very like, it's quite iffy lah. It's basically, we just want to do good work.
Oh, okay.
This is this is verbatim. We just want to do good work. So in a sense, when I hear about it, I just like, okay, but what else is there? It's like, do we look for like something? We want to touch the human's heart. Do we want to like, this kind of stuff? We aim to collaborate to make something that everyone can enjoy, and not just that. Like educate people and make them into a more woke person. This kind of stuff. If you can say this kind of stuff to me, then maybe okay, I feel for it. But we just want to do good work. I just feel like okay. Then the next thing I ask is, what is the company culture like? And then the person straight away say, I am the company culture.
kind of response is that?
Yeah. So yeah.
How do you respond?
I just okay. I just like I really don't know what to say lah, because that's not what I expect also. So when I hear that, I just feel like yeah, it's amazing. At the point in time, I'm still naive lah, because I'm desperate for jobs. It's very hard to get into this industry without that degree and stuff. So I just entered, but that is where I realized that hey, the red flag actually already started from there. That you don't know much about what you're getting yourself into, and then you got in. That's where it happens lah.
To follow up on that note, right, you talk about the company saying its mission, right? What's the mission of a current company that you're in? And how is it different? Like, let's say, what's the current mission of the company?
Actually, honestly speaking, that's also another big question that I want to ask myself, because actually right now I'm actually in MM2. So MM2 Entertainment is like a subsidiary branch of MM2 Asia. So in MM2 Entertainment itself, we actually focuses more on movies, like what a lot of people would think we do. But actually, when I get in, I realize that I'm doing something else. So I'm in the formats department, where we actually come up with a lot of special projects, and do a lot of like just kind of online platform series that we are actually going to like roll out soon, by the end of this year lah. So when it comes to that, we actually it is ultimately an entertainment film company. We actually do things for entertainment. We want to make sure that like consumers can all relate to the program, and it's really just mindless entertainment, be it
Mindless entertainment? I don't think so. Why you use the word mindless?
Based on what I know lah. Like
okay.
Really, yeah. Okay. And also because my angle coming in is like someone who is more into social issues, into championing social issues, and wanting to make like meaningful things.
Raise awareness on certain things.
Yes. That's what I really hope to do. Yeah. But when I get into my current company, MM2, I feel like the stuff that I make is more leaning towards the entertainment side. It can be informative as well, but it's really more about how you get people's attention, and that is something that I'm not very used to, but I have to do it lah, because ultimately we are making things for the audience, and the audience must like it. Yeah. So that's where it's very different, because my very first company is actually like a TV documentary company. But this one is more of entertainment, so I can understand where they are coming from also. Why things have to be entertainment, so that you can draw investors in and stuff, because it's ultimately a business.
But at the end of the day, I'm sure from your experience in like working in the entertainment field, there are lessons to be learned that, let's say, you could bring into, let's say, like more of the documentary-ish kind of work that you do, right?
For sure, yeah. And we also have a lot of documentary opportunities also lah, even within my company. Yeah, because we actually we also have to like pitch for stuff and get fundings from elsewhere also. And IMDA is our big brother in MM2. Yeah.
Like, okay, can you paint like just a picture, let's say you're in MM2, right? Like, are you the person that works with people who scripts out the stories for all these kind of things? Then you put it in a nice deck, then you present it to IMDA. Then once it gets funding, then it goes down the rabbit hole, but you produce it, and at the end of the day, you're airing it. Like, is that how it works? Like, how is the seed of all these series, like for all these entertainment shows? I honestly like, how do people even create it? Like, is it from you? Like, do you like? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one misconception is that actually in MM2, right, everyone inside is a producer.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone inside is a producer. We actually don't have our own production house inside. Not all of us use the camera.
So you guys outsource that production to a production house?
Yes. We are basically the idea generators in our company who would go on to make decks and pitch and get fundings from investors or stakeholders. And that is where after we get the funding, we will be the one allocating it out to commission like production houses to do for us, and to make sure that you follow through the production to get the idea that you want. So that is actually the main purpose of a producer lah, and that is us. Yeah, but moving on, we are actually going to start out our own internal team, and I'm going to be in it lah. So we are actually coming out with like our own production house, where we will start to do all the small productions ourselves. So by then I will be moving on to do like a job of a producer director. So I have to like create, ideate, shoot, film, and edit everything myself and deliver.
Okay, so in the ideal scenario, you're in where you are right now. You are writing the deck. You're pitching it. If it goes through, then you will be the actual person like shooting, or not shooting, like directing on the ground. So they are creating an in-house team in that sense, not to be reliant on other production houses. But has it been like this for like a longest period of time? Is there a reason why they're only creating like a production house right now? Or like why is there a need to do it in-house when you can do it and just outsource it? Was it like the production quality, or like it didn't really, when you're working in production houses, it doesn't come to fruition to how people want it to be? Like what's the rationale of creating an in-house production team?
So as you know, like the movie industry is not doing very well, like
Yes,
in terms
yeah.
of cinema, and that's why we have decided to bring things online to the digital platform. So it's not okay lah. To be fair, there are also some well-known directors in MM2 as well, but their job is not a producer lah. So basically, they know the directing stuff and they would want to make their own feature film still. So that is where the film department is at, where they want to come out with their own stuff, but most of all, they have to make sure that they get the fundings lah. For us, we are moving more towards like a digital platform. We're actually coming out. Okay, I guess this is like a marketing for me now. Yeah, we are actually coming out with a new like online OTT platform called Mplay.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Is it something like Toggle or Me Watch? Is it?
almost like Toggle, but it's also almost like Netflix.
Okay.
But everything is in Mandarin. Yeah,
Oh.
because MM2 Asia is like it's regional. We have content from Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. So these four regions will actually come up with our own local contents, and sometimes it will be a mix and match to really show like the region and the similarities and entertainment stuff to everyone. Yeah, so we are actually working on this kind of small stuff online so that people can actually watch like this kind of entertainment stuff lah. And the video is actually about 3 to 5 minutes long each lah. And it's like just for laugh.
Yeah,
Not sure whether you know.
Yeah, I know.
Those kind of videos where when you're waiting for the bus, where you're commuting, like those kind of liminal spaces, you can actually just want to be entertained and you can just watch one of the episodes. So we are aiming to fill that gap of liminal space, what people want to do and what people want to watch, because you can't watch a long drama without stopping it if you are just like going for a 15 minutes ride. Yeah, but you can actually watch a few episodes of this kind of like short form videos while you're like spending that time. So we are trying to fill into that target audience lah. Yeah.
Got it. That's quite interesting. Is it like a separate app on itself, like Netflix? Then you have that special platform for specifically Mandarin related shows.
Yes. So we are actually rolling it out by the end of this year.
So everything's like, so basically it's like you're uploading, creating content to be on this library, and all of like MM2's entertainment, they're all uploading their materials to form like a regional whole chunk of library for people to like binge watch in that sense.
Yes.
I see. Okay, that's interesting.
And in the future, maybe we are thinking of making it almost like a YouTube also, so that people can actually generate their own content like and upload onto that platform. So we are still thinking of how things are going to work out, but right now we are just working towards more internal stuff.
Got it. Yeah, that's quite interesting. I think there's really space for that niche lah. Because on myself, like, all I do is I buy ads on OTT. So literally, like, I think that is a separate business model on itself lah. Okay, that's interesting. In terms of, let's say, the challenges that you had so far, in terms of being in your current role as coming of ideas, sometimes people's like, as a very maybe a stupid question or superficial question, how do you come up with ideas for all these kind of shows that you want to pitch for? Like it's like in technically high investment-ish, like people from IMDA or Big Brother will need to buy into it, right? Where do you how does the creative brainstorm within your company take place?
When I enter, right, a lot of pictures are already been done and it's like we are already doing it. So when I go in, I'm just overseeing all the productions that we have pitched so far. So from what I know, it's really about the target audience and how you want to really engage them and how much money you can actually bring in from there. And how receptive will people actually watch your show. I think that's a very, very important factor, especially for the entertainment industry. Yeah, because when you come up with a very good show, sometimes you cannot get any attention because of the title or like the genre itself, So we have to tweak it somehow to make it very young and very fresh. So that's the angle that we're going for. For example, we are coming up with a health show. It's called Why So Unhealthy, but it's health. How are we going to tackle, let younger people watch a health show? It's going to be boring, right? Yeah, so the greatest challenge is about how to tweak it to make it fresh and young, such that people will be inclined to watch it. So one example will be we're ready to bring in all the profiles who are millennials or our age, so that we can relate to their problems. This kind of small stuff lah. And another example is to bring in our own cast, our own profiles who are already very popular, like our boys to men characters who already have a fan base. like themselves. So we can bring them in so that we can get more people to watch and support.
So the different kind of elements that you can put together to like justify to the big brother that okay, this is worth this much and why it should be funding us in the first place.
And you also have to take into account of like how you guarantee the viewership to be this amount and stuff.
Like from a stats and data point of view, like do you go into like a projection? Okay, by this amount of time there should be around this amount of viewers. Like what are the tangible KPIs that would tell that this show is a success?
Well, I honestly don't know. But I guess a very good thing about our company is because Asia One is under us, and then we have other platforms like Asia One will help us market stuff. We have new programs such as the new coming MM2 Cine Home. It's actually a new thing that people can actually watch movies at home and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. All the Cathay Cineplex MM2 shows that we distribute is all inside also. Yeah. So I think having that, say, we use previous portfolios, like whatever successful films that we have made in the past, we throw them to the big brothers and say, this is what we have done before, so we definitely can do it again. I have a feeling that's like it lah. I'm sorry if I like overgeneralize things. I hope that like nobody come and find me trouble because I say something like that. Yeah.
So it seems like everything is.
It's like a system already. I feel like it's already a system that is in place simply because you have done it all along this way.
Is it right to say that other than the big brothers, there's like no other entities or private institutions that's like actively commissioning series in your experience? I'm just curious, so technically the only people that are really like actively pushing out all these new series are like from these big brothers in that sense, and like no corporate. You aren't pitching to companies to like pitch certain things?
Yeah, it depends on the nature of the company also, because for example, right now we are actually funding for SPH, and this kind of content, the contents that you see online or like Toggle or like TV in general, they are not all by Mediacorp, because Mediacorp actually commission production houses to make drama series or like whatever for them. Yeah, so basically, these are the people also. And then recently we also have some pitch by STB, Singapore Tourism Board. There's a news about how there's a Singapore Day, right? Because they want to introduce locals to actually like indulge in like tourist activities in Singapore. So they are rolling out that scheme so that they want to try to engage with like production companies to come up with content to attract locals to actually have a holiday in Singapore. So unless there's an agenda involved that fits the production-based thing, because honestly speaking, production isn't very cheap. And also, like you say, sometimes there's data and sometimes it's not very like quantifiable whether we can actually get the amount. So it's really like an investment and a risk, just like marketing and advertising. You don't know how much like it will reap at the end of the day.
Okay, so moving on to, let's say, more generic advice for anyone who is interested in these industries, right? Let's say as having worked in this industry for like 1 to 2 years, right? Is there any kind of advice would you give to, let's say, someone who's just entering this film production industry as a career?
Okay. My advice is actually to hope that the person actually go and freelance around first, to actually get to understand how the industry is like, but not just within a few companies, but all around Singapore, what is their practices, so that you can actually identify what is considered unjust and what is considered reasonable. Because honestly, after my first few experience in the production house, now that I'm in MM2, I can realize that some of the work is not reasonable, I will sound off. And some of the work, I know that this is just like this because we all have our last minute things to do.
Industry norms.
Yes. And then that is where I come to accept that, hey, this is normal and I shouldn't complain about it. So even if I'm very, very busy now as compared to last time, right, I still do it like willingly, unlike last time where I dread doing it all the time. Simply because I know that, hey, this is so much better than my previous experience, and like everyone is there to support me, very patient with me, and having that support, I guess, is also, it will help you a lot along the way also. So one, it will be go around, check to see, you have to feel for yourself what is considered reasonable and what isn't.
In terms of like the like the kind of workload,
The
in
things
terms
they
of
ask you
the
to
things
do.
how much they are remunerating you, like all,
Yeah,
like all this kind of
that too,
stuff.
that too. Yeah, so because I mean, in our industry, there's always a trade-off between whether you think it's worth it and how much you are getting out of it. So sometimes there will be friend, right? You're my friend, so I give you very little, but it's like helping out each other. So these kind of things also is up to whether you want to do it. But some of them, there is always like this standard pay that you should always get, and it shouldn't be anywhere below. Yeah, yeah.
So to know the tolerance level, like, in that sense, expose yourself to the industry.
Yes, yes.
Got it. Any other advice for someone interested in this industry?
Okay, so another advice maybe is that you must really be sure to put yourself out there. Yeah, because I think a lot of times those veterans in the company, they would think that because you're young, you're stupid. But that's not the case. You're just young, but you may not be stupid also. So you just have to be aware of what the things they do, and know what are the right practices. Because sometimes when they do things right, like even the most experienced people, when they do things, it may not be professional. So there has to be a balance between knowing what is professional and what you should do at the right time, lah. So like for the smallest thing, like leaving your lens around, like lying on the floor, that's a no for me. Like really cannot.
Okay.
After going to film school, I just think that can never happen. That should never happen also.
What other things should never happen?
What are the things that I should... okay, what my pet peeve would be that you should never scold people in front of everyone else on set, because it really just shows how unprofessional you are to humiliate that person in front of everyone. I think that having that respect and like rapport when you're on shoot, and I think it helps a lot, because it's like everyone is already stressed enough already. Why do you want to make it even worse for somebody? Like throw your temper into somebody. Yeah. So I guess like a lot of people's image of how a director is like on set is the director will be around scolding people, right? Yeah. But the true people that you should work with will be the ones who can understand these nuances, will understand what is the repercussion of doing that, and are aware that they shouldn't do something at a point in time, lah. Yeah. So I guess that makes you the person that people should work with, because of how easy you work with and how like understanding you are at the point in time.
It seems to me like a role of a director, there's a lot of EQ involved as well as like EQ and the skill level of like, because like if you score someone on set, then it will just affect the whole environment. You really need to understand people. What are the other good traits of good directors in that sense? I know I'm like just talking off tangent now, but just interested in what is a good director to you?
To me, I would say it's definitely having an eye for the thing and not get sidetracked by whatever that
when you say the eye for a thing, what do you mean? Like the idea, is it the conceptual?
So they will know what is the best way to do things without crossing the line, because a lot of times, usually the case is the director will always fight with the producer because the producer cares about the money. The director doesn't. The director just go all out to get his or her vision, without caring about the cost. So it becomes crazy if the director is also the producer.
Oh.
Because this means that you don't have anyone to control the budget. Yeah. So the good director to me is someone who is reasonable enough to go along with what he or she knows. Yeah, without suddenly changing the whole thing without any explanation. I feel like you should justify why you change things to people and not just make people follow you just because you want it to. Yeah. Because I mean, I have some experiences last time where the director really just very fickle-minded, change things non-stop and then waste a lot of time. Like
time, resources.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours to film this and then suddenly, let's scrape it. I don't want anything anymore. Let's do something else. That's about the same scene, something like that. Yeah, so I guess you really have to know what you want. You really need to plan and do your research beforehand before you go out and do it.
So on your note, because you're assistant producer, right? What makes a good producer?
Like I said, surely someone who is able to talk to people well, someone that people enjoy having you around on set, and someone who will actually like talk to people regardless of their like position in the crew. So I try to put myself out there to actually talk to makeup artists, to like wardrobe artists, those kind of people, to actually get to know more about themselves and why they are inside, so that I can kind of make connections and also understand their role. So I've come across like very, very good makeup artists who actually say that people hire her because of how she is able to make their day, even without makeup on. So they will come out with like small talks, but eventually it will try to bring out like, you know, the artists will really like them because they cheer themselves up before they go on screen.
And it's important.
Yeah, it's very important because how you experience before you're on the screen and when they press the record button, it affects your performance a lot. And so having someone who can actually
Support.
bring out that part of you and make you humane and like, you know, stay positive about things, I think that is very important. So this is something that I wouldn't know unless I talk to a makeup artist myself. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, Xuan Kai, thanks so much for sharing. Because I've always, like, this film industry seems to me like I don't know anything about it, but thanks so much for sharing a lot of small details, like the things about, I think connections is something that's very powerful. Like, for the fact that you're a producer, you need to talk to everyone. I think this has a ripple effect, a very strong ripple effect in good and bad ways as well. If what you're doing, in a sense, it will resonate throughout the industry. If you're not that nice, then perhaps it will resonate in bad ways across the industries, right? So yeah, thanks so much for sharing on this note. Last few questions, right, for this podcast, right? Some short 5 questions. What is the best advice have you ever received in the filmmaking space, in this film production industry? What's the best advice have you ever received?
Okay. I don't know the best advice, but something that stuck with me forever is actually this. You can be aggressive, but you shouldn't be rude.
Got it.
Yeah, because I feel like you can be aggressive to get something you want, but you don't need to be rude to get it. So I think that is something it really stuck with me because like, it's true. You can be nice, but you can be aggressive to get what you want. But as long as you're not rude and you still do it in a way that people understand where you're coming from, I think that is the best balance that you can get out of the day.
I think, yeah, the word aggressive, it seems like there's a lot of negative connotation and baggage towards it. But now that you put aggressive and rude, rude is definitely much more negative than aggressive. You can be aggressive, but you can't be rude. Very nice. What's the best? Where do you get it from, actually?
A director actually told me this.
Wow. Yeah, actually it makes sense. A director should be aggressive, but he or she should never be rude. Nice. What's the worst advice have you ever received?
Well, I cannot remember anything for now because I mean, like, usually when I hear bad stuff, I will just like not listen and then.
Got it. I know that itself. I think it's a good advice as well. 1 year from now, what tangible things would you want to happen to make it the best year in your career?
What tangible things that I want to do?
That you want happen to make it the best year for your career.
Okay, if hopefully, like maybe whatever in the company they are able to fit to my kind of genre, I think that would be great.
Like documentary-ish, like things that are raising awareness on things that you're passionate about.
Yeah. So actually, honestly speaking, I'm already actually doing my own documentary now. And I've talked to like the managing director of the company and he's very willing to want to support me in some ways also. Yeah. So hopefully there will be more chances like that where the company is actually doing more like documentary-based stuff that I can be involved. I think that would be very good. Because honestly speaking, the reason why I'm not freelancing now and I'm joining companies now is to really get myself in there to understand what is needed to get there. So producing is definitely a very good skill to have before you go out and do your own stuff. Yeah. If not, I would never dream of being a producer myself, really.
Could you share a little bit more of like that, let's say this documentary that you ideated and shared with our managing director?
Oh, okay. So currently is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this happened way back because as a theatre major, like I actually do something. Okay, this documentary is theatre based lah. So what happened is that in year 4, I actually travelled to Taiwan to talk to a group of aunties, and these aunties, right, are not just typical aunties. They have been they have their own group, theatre group for 20 years.
Wow, 20 years.
Yeah, and they are now 55-year-old to 80-year-old. That range.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 12 of them lah. Yeah, so what happened is that back in 1999, there was an earthquake called 921 earthquake in Taiwan. So that is like a 7.9 magnitude earthquake. It's so big that it actually flooded like the Taichung area. So because of that, a lot of people lost their house, their kids and stuff. So a lot of artists flew over to try to do rehab work. And so because of that, they want to empower this woman lah. So they come out with this theatre company and it like lasted until today. It's a very self-sustainable one because they talk about a lot of autobiographical experience of themselves. And these people who live in Taichung, they are actually the Hakka minority. They are like the Hakka, because in Taiwan it's Minnan majority, Minnan like those who speak Taiwanese Hokkien, right? Yeah, so these Hakka people speak Hakka lah. So some of them are Minnan Taiwanese who married into a Hakka family, and so there are a lot of like cultural identity issues because a Hakka woman is supposed to do this and that. Yeah, so like this theatre company seeks to empower them as individuals, as a woman, to have their rights, like and everything, like really to inform them about what they can do and what they have been like resisting to do. What are the oppressive issues that they have faced so far?
What are the norms that they are subjected to and all this kind of stuff?
Yes, yeah. So our job actually is to go there to think about how to further their performance because they have 20 years of acting experience. Confirm better than all of us. Yeah, we're just 30 plus only. Yeah. So what happened is that because now they are old and actually in the morning they are all farmers. So they are farmers farmers in the day and at night they come for theatre rehearsal. So their bodies are quite wrecked lah. Their bodies are deteriorating worse than like our elderly in Singapore. So how do we actually incorporate theatre into their performance such that it helps them in their body? Yeah, so my prof came out with this concept of the pro body aesthetics, how we actually incorporate like therapeutic body performances through chiropractic research. So we actually have a chiropractor who actually teaches all the joints, movement and everything, and we want to incorporate that. Yeah, so our job is to want to put that in such that it helps them like lighten their load and make them feel better while like
engaging in theatre.
Yes, so it's a form of applied theatre technique that we can actually incorporate and the Taiwan government actually funded me to do this documentary, and yeah, so it's like a cross-culture thing with Singapore. So I actually want to bring what we have in Singapore over there and what we learn from there back to Singapore to actually let like Singaporeans know that applied theatre can actually help the elderly, can actually empower the communities in this way to make like our elderly move more. You know, there's a lot of like good things about trying to move their bodies.
It's a very practical way.
Yeah. So it's really documenting and really filming things about theatre that I want to bring out to champion like this issue.
So there's two sides of it, right? Like preparing for the documentation of this particular theatrical material for it. Yeah. So that you need to prepare for that and prepare for that chiropractic, that kind of science that really validates that it's helpful for their bodies to be able to engage in such theatre. Oh, that's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. So I usually started like preparing this last year. So I only recently just started filming some stuff only. And also because of COVID, I cannot fly there. If not, I will be there in February already. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. That's very. Like, what's the time frame for usually? Okay, I'm assuming that if there's no COVID, what's usually the time frame of the execution of such projects?
It depends on the frequency you have, but because I'm a foreigner who are going to Taiwan, so we have to plan our stuff and we have to plan accordingly to their schedule because sometimes farming season very busy, they cannot do theatre rehearsals, but we will be there to film them being busy and how farming, this capitalist kind of like action will actually affect their body because farming and trying to the nature of a farmer is to harvest things at the right time and you have to harvest as fast as you can at the right time. If not, once you miss that frame, like everything will die.
So it's that short period of time where there's a lot of intensive work going on. There's like lao periods and xiong periods and like. Okay.
Yeah. So you will destroy their body.
But you will also need to document, make sure everything, the timing, like that's what a producer does, right? Make sure everything's in time. You're at the right place at the right time, with the right camera, right crew, right things to capture it. Then still, at the same time, like teaching them how to like engage in this theatre.
Yeah, and take care of their body. And maybe if they have no time to come to rehearsal, how can we use their environment at home to help them with their bodies? This kind of stuff. Yeah, I find it very meaningful and really like these like women, these elderly are really respectable people. Who are very, very, they're just so precious and they are like this kind of small community. I really want to bring in something from our Singapore point of view there. And I also can bring in so much from them to back here. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a super exciting project, man. I really hope to be able to like see this soon because I know that like I'll just really link a few of your videos in this video because I feel like every filmmaker has like a style which they articulate things in, and I feel like your videos that you make is very authentic, very nice, and I'm sure that you will be able to bring this kind of tone into this documentary that you're doing. So I look forward to it. Hopefully this COVID thing will be over very soon. Xuan Kai, thanks so much for joining this podcast, right? For listeners that want to reach out to you, right? For any further clarifications on what you do, how can they reach out? How can they reach out to you?
You can probably just Facebook message me or just Instagram, I guess. DM me or whatever. Yeah.
Got it. I'll be linking your Instagram and LinkedIn in the video description. And thanks so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jiang Jun. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no. Thanks, man.